Well, student athletes from Junction brought home some new hardware and a new title. Archers from Junction traveled to Utah to compete in the Western National Championship. Now, students earned the top spot in 3D archery and second place in bullseye, giving them the national title.
This was their goal since, I think, September. The seniors got together and they said we want to go to Utah. It was better for us to go out there. If we went to the other nationals, they would come back on a Sunday, take finals that week, and graduate that Friday. So this was the best decision for our team to go to this national tournament. And we hoped to win 3D, and we did. We hoped to win center shot bullseye in 3D, and we did in bullseye.
Supporters gathered at the Junction High School to welcome them home and to congratulate the students on their success. The 14th annual Larry Mills Car Show took place yesterday. Over 70 different vehicles showed up and folks could enjoy all the car show staples, including music, food, and activities for the kids. All proceeds from the event went to support wildlife youth.
Well, the camp itself is just getting together with other churches, the actual camp, and doing stuff together, study, worship. There's games and stuff like that, but so it helps offset the cost of that camp. But if there's leftover stuff, it helps offset some of the costs we have throughout the year for other activities.
Awards given out at the car show included the Fine 9, the Larry Mills Best of Show, John Wetstein People's Choice, Founder's Choice, and Best of Class. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Joann stores will shut down hundreds of locations this week, and its remaining stores will close by the end of next month. Plus, one person is dead and 6 others are hurt after a shooting at the end of an Elizabeth City State University festival. Plus, Chris Warner returns with another look at your Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look from the Barco Drive-In located in Lamar, Missouri. Topping Nation Watch this morning. Well, fans of Joann stores will be disappointed to learn nearly 1/3 of the fabric and craft retailers' locations will close this week, and the remaining stores will shut down next month. The company filed for bankruptcy last January. Now, it was Joann's second bankruptcy filing in 11 months. The chain began going out of business sales, and those sales will end at the 255 locations around the country closing this week. The more than 500 remaining stores will shut down next month. Americans are still dreading a recession and rising inflation. That's even after President Trump paused his massive tariff hike on dozens of countries. The University of Michigan's latest survey found consumer sentiment plunged 8% in April from the month before. That was a slightly smaller decline than a preliminary reading from earlier this month, which didn't capture people's reaction to Trump's 90-day tariff delay, which was announced April 9th. Sentiment in April was at its 4th lowest level on record, which dates back to 1952. Trump's unpredictable trade war has weighed on Americans' attitudes towards the economy over the past few months. An HBCU in North Carolina is reeling from a deadly shooting yesterday. Officials say Elizabeth City State University is not under any current threat or lockdown order. Amy Kiley reports on the violence that unfolded as students were wrapping up several days of festivities.
I heard the gunshots through my window and through the walls.
One person is dead and 6 are injured after a shooting at a historically black university on the North Carolina coast yesterday.
It was scary for real. Like, I was over there talking to one of my friends and just seeing a lot of people running.
Elizabeth City State University says the person who died was a 24-year-old man who was not a student. But it says 3 of the gunshot victims attend the school, along with 2 others hurt in the commotion.
Praying for them, praying for their families.
The school says none of the injuries are life-threatening. It says the shooting took place at the center of campus in the early morning.
It finally clicked, this happened right outside my door.
The university says it had just finished a multi-day celebration involving both alumni and students called Viking Fest.
I had left right before all of this had transpired, but I had heard the gunshots from my dorm, and then I had got a phone call saying that some people had got shot.
The school is near the border with Virginia, and it's part of the North Carolina University system. It enrolls just over 2,000 students.
We're a family. It's a small school, small HBCU, so everybody knows everybody. It's a small family, so just make sure their family's okay.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear for the time being. We're starting to see clouds gradually increase from the west. A couple of shower storms out to off to our northwest. We will be dry today. However, we have our severe threat ramping up as we head overnight tonight. Details when we come back.
Welcome back. We have Lori Horton in the studio with us this morning, and she's sharing her recipe. Teach us how to make banana cake. If I can speak. Good morning.
Monday.
It's Monday,
and it is,
for sure, Lori.
It is the Mondayest of Mondays.
This
I don't know
fantastic.
about anybody else. It is so good, and it is a banana cake, not a banana bread. A little bit different texture.
Okay.
And I can't take credit for this recipe because this is one that I have gotten out of our Lions Club cookbook. Ooh. So I'm going to plug a little bit because as a very proud member of the Pittsburgh Lions Club, we are doing a fundraiser with that. And this is one of the recipes that was actually submitted by a member that a lot of folks in town will know as a retired teacher and just a wonderful community member, Helen Lundquist. So I have to give Helen and all the Lundquists a little shout out. It's a wonderful recipe and just so perfect for, we're coming up on Mother's Day, into the school year, gifts. So this would be a great one to make and wrap up and, gift in that way. But we're going to start with mashing up a couple of bananas. And it depends on how you like your bananas. I like to keep mine a little bit chunky. Okay. So I'm just going to mush these with a fork and kind of get them blended a little bit and use that in my batter. You can sieve these and actually really get all the little pieces out if that is your preference. Do them in a little food processor.
Now I know with banana bread, sometimes people like those overly ripe bananas. Yeah. Are we just rocking with whatever we've got?
I'm just going with whatever I've got. Now, I'm going to be honest. If these were a little bit more ripe, they would mush a little bit easier. But I don't like a really brown banana. That's just my hang up. So you guys, you do you when it comes to your bananas. It's a great way to use up some of those that may be a little bit past, where you want to put them in the kids' lunchbox for sure. But just don't feel like they have to be brown like that. They are a little bit sweeter and a little bit softer the more ripe they get, obviously. So we're just going to get those all meshed up. I'm going to take a little bit of time in between our segments on that. I'm going to set that aside. Other than that, we're going to come back to our basic cake batter. And this is, again, a little bit different than a banana bread. So we're going to start with some shortening. And I love these baking sticks. They make life so much easier. And measure that out. It's a half a cup, which is about a half a stick. And then we're going to add to that a couple of eggs. Always remember when we're baking, we're using large eggs unless our recipe says otherwise. And then we're going to add to that some sugar, just plain old white sugar. We're going to start with creaming those ingredients together. And I'll spare you guys making a little bit of noise. Happy Monday.
It's a Monday.
Gonna throw all that on the floor today. We're just gonna go with it. We're gonna cream those ingredients together. We wanna get them really nice and smooth. So start out with your shortening at room temperature, should be anyway. And you can use the butter flavor or the regular.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter. I use the plain and I think it's fine. But the butter flavor I do like when it comes to cakes because it adds a little bit more richness. So it's, again, just your preference. Add those eggs in there. When we come back, we're going to talk about our dry ingredients, how we get all this incorporated, and maybe a little bit about our Lions Club.
All right, wonderful, Lori. As always, thanks so much. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News just after 6:21 now on this Monday morning, and we do have a severe threat that we are watching very closely. Now again, if you're looking at information online, you got to be understanding of how the Storm Prediction Center works with their outlooks because they do day 1, day 2, so on and so forth. This is day 1. Technically, today. But our severe threat is actually for overnight tonight after about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But once we get to that point and these storms roll in, these are their hazards. We have a low to elevated tornado threat. That elevated tornado risk encompasses almost all of southeast Kansas, parts of Oklahoma, and back to the Missouri side. We also have a low to elevated hail risk. The hail risk is a little more spread out, and so is the wind risk compared to the elevated tornado threat. And the other concern we have is just west of Fort Scott, so northwestern Bourbon County, back towards Burlington, Garnett, Chanute, Fredonia, Yates Center, Independence, Coffeyville. You get the idea. These points in west, we have those hatch marks indicating the potential for very large hail. That'd be 2 inches in diameter or greater. And then we have the low to elevated wind risk. We're talking damaging wind gusts 60, 70 miles an hour. And again, this is going to be overnight tonight through today. The biggest thing we're going to do is we discussed this earlier. You know, when there's strong storms coming or there's some thunderstorms rolling, you can kind of feel it in the air. There's something different. That's probably how it's going to feel through most of today. We'll have south winds increasing, gusting upwards of 35. Clouds increasing. Will be mostly cloudy to straight up cloudy, but we will be dry through the majority of today, if not all of today. Now, about 10, 11 o'clock, an isolated shower storm could potentially roll through parts of southeast Kansas. So Yates Center, Fredonia, Chanute. Doesn't last long, doesn't do much is the expectation, but there might be one out there. Here we go to 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's when we start to see these thunderstorms roll in south of Coffeyville, back through Nowata and Washington counties into northeastern Oklahoma. This is when our severe threat begins to ramp up overnight tonight as this thunderstorm complex expands and intensifies, rolling up the Will Rogers Turnpike. So now we're into the Parsons, Oswego area, so parts of Labette County, back through Cherokee County, rolling into Girard, Veneta, Miami, Joplin, Carthage. This is 3 a.m. tomorrow. We'll have additional thunderstorms rolling into our northwestern counties. We do look to get maybe a pause in the severe threat momentarily Tuesday morning before additional storms intensify along a line that by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're talking Nevada, Lamar, Joplin, through Cherokee County, Miami, and back into Nowata and Washington counties once again out there. So we got to watch those thunderstorms. Then we'll get additional storms throughout the day Tuesday. We'll have thunderstorm chances across the entire area Tuesday. But Tuesday, our greater severe risk shifts south. So roughly almost right along and south of the I-44 corridor. Any storms we see down there will have a slightly higher potential to become severe. But we could get strong to low-grade severe storms anywhere outside of that zone as well on the north side of I-44. So we want to watch that, and that will continue to be the threat through the majority of the day on Tuesday into the overnight hours, and a few storms maybe lingering into early Wednesday mornings. By 2 a.m., a few more still south of I-44 before they begin to clear out toward 5 a.m. Wednesday, and some of those could still potentially be strong. So here's our severe hazards for tomorrow. There's a low tornado risk just barely clipping our southern counties. There's a low hail risk along and south of I-44, but we do have a low to elevated wind risk with thunderstorms tomorrow, and then as I mentioned, maybe a strong storm or two lingering in our southern counties as we head into early Wednesday morning. Right now though, again, clear skies, temperatures very warm this morning as well, already mild. Upper 60s by 8 into the low 70s through 9, 10 o'clock, mid 70s by 11. Mostly cloudy skies by that point as those clouds increase. As I mentioned, our south winds today gusting upwards of 35 miles an hour. Then we'll have those thunderstorms tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday into early Thursday morning, but our severe weather threat again starts to wane down a bit Wednesday. Now we're just looking at heavy rainfall. Then we go into Thursday. Then by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we start to clear out. And in fact, the weekend, at least at this point, looking pretty good and warm back into the upper 70s and low 80s. Let's check your forecast. We're going to send it over to Elise now with Health Watch.
All right, Chris, thanks. Young adults are driving a dramatic decrease in smoking. University of California, San Diego researchers found states with historically high smoking rates have seen the biggest declines. But the progress is not as fast for adults over 50, which could delay reductions in smoking-related diseases and deaths. Researchers project the national smoking rate will be under 5% by 2035, compared to around 57% in 1955. And research out of Sweden and Harvard University finds a simple blood test measuring 2 lipoprotein markers can give more accurate information about the risk of heart disease compared to cholesterol levels. Lipoproteins carry cholesterol and other fats through the blood. And the researchers say in about 1 in 12 patients, standard cholesterol tests may underestimate the risk of heart disease, and this new type of testing could improve accuracy and potentially save lives. And a new global study links consuming ultra-processed foods with preventable premature deaths. Now, it shows in countries like the U.S. where consumption is high, the foods cause as many as 14% of premature deaths. The researchers are calling for revised dietary guidelines and public policies. That's a look at Health Watch. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Pitt State students help local kids get away from their screens and enhance their practical skills.
A bit of a hazy and mild start to the day ahead of another warm and breezy one. We'll take a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the 4 states Reptile Expo takes place in Neosho. We'll take you there.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6:29. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Monday. It's April the 28th. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. Got some stuff done. And if you didn't, maybe you just, lounged around this past weekend.
It's always nice too.
With some of the thunderstorms and that rain, it's very soothing. When we don't have the severe weather, it can be very soothing. It makes it a little easier to sleep, Unfortunately, tonight, not necessarily going to be a good night to sleep with thunderstorm chances as we see our severe threat increase. But let's get your Monday started first. Monday, it is warm, it is hazy outside. Quick look outside shows you that from downtown Pittsburgh as the sun begins to rise out there this morning. We are again mild for this time of year, for this time of day as well. MoDOT camera 20th and range line looking pretty good also out there. By this afternoon, we're talking about mostly cloudy, in some cases just straight up cloudy skies. Will remain dry through today, but we will be warm, and as I mentioned, we will be breezy. It'll be one of those days where you'll feel the energy kind of starting to work into the area. It won't be until after about 2 o'clock in the morning that we start to see our severe threat ramp up. So again, you're probably seeing stuff online. It gets a little confusing with how Storm Prediction Center does day 1, day 2, etc., etc. But day 1 does linger into the beginning of the next day. So in our case, this severe threat, if you just look straight at the data, it looks like it's today. Like today, in the afternoon, evening. It's not. It's overnight tonight after, again, 2 a.m. So we do have a low to elevated tornado threat, that elevated risk through most of southeast Kansas, parts of Missouri, and into Oklahoma. We also have a low to elevated hail risk. And these hatch marks, again, just the northwestern parts of Bourbon County. So we're talking Garnett, Burlington, Anderson County is what I'm thinking of. Yates Center, Eureka, Sedan, Fredonia, Chanute, Independence. Those areas, we have hatch marks indicating the potential for very large hail, 2 inches in diameter or greater. And then we have a low to elevated wind risk as well, where we could see damaging wind gusts 60, 70 miles an hour. Our severe threat tomorrow will shift south as we head into the late morning afternoon. Along and south of I-44 is where that elevated risk is, and a couple of strong storms could linger into early Wednesday morning. Here's those mild temperatures and hazy conditions out there. 66 in Joplin, 65 in Pittsburgh, and that south wind continuing to bring in warm air off to the east, where it's still a bit of a southeasterly breeze, still a little cooler. We have some low 60s, most of us mid and upper 60s, and we still have that pair of 70s in Yates Center and Chanute. Winds today out of the south, 15 to 25, gusting to 35, 72 by 9, 77 by noon, near 80 by 3, and still into the upper 70s by 6 this evening. So again, a very warm day. As I mentioned, our severe threat does ramp up overnight tonight. We're going to break down the details and timing on these storms over the next few days here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. Well, Pitt State students are helping kids get away from screen time and engage with others to build valuable life skills. As part of their final exam, Pitt State Honors College students planned a day of activities focused on enhancing problem solving, teamwork, and imaginative thinking.
there's a space for more kids-based programs, because I think we lost a lot of those when the pandemic happened. And they're slowly coming back, but it's so important to get kids connected with their community and each other and getting them building those connections, especially around this age.
Associate Professor Philip Frank says the students have gone above the requirements for the course to make Saturday's activities what they were. Well, Route 66 in Commerce, Oklahoma comes alive on Saturday for an arts festival. Nationally known muralists and local artists painted their designs across town centered around the theme of historic Route 66. All of this in preparation for the nationwide centennial celebration of Route 66 coming next year.
So we bring in muralists from all over the country. So we have 2 that came from Florida and 1 that came from Texas, but we also utilize locals. So we have 3 local artists that are painting as well. And then they are also taking on local students as apprentices. So the students are getting to learn how to make murals as well.
Well, people who attended got to engage with all the festival activities, including food trucks and activities for the kids. Well, Reptile Expo held in Neosho gives animal enthusiasts an opportunity to buy, sell, and examine exotic pets. KOAM's Mitch Adams visited the expo and met some of the animals firsthand.
The saying goes, lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Substitute lions, tigers, and bears for bearded dragons, snakes, and spiders. Front and center for people to interact with, but only if you're brave enough.
Here you can get up and close with the breeders that have produced the animals. They take care of the animals. They can educate you, help you, and everything in a very well-rounded atmosphere.
The animals are not what you see at your average pet store. And breeders say educating people about these animals and finding them responsible homes is a top priority.
Basically for us, we're like having a zoo and a pet store all in one. You can get your pet, you can get the enclosure, you can get all your bedding and get everything you need for it to thrive whenever you get home with your new pet.
Different booths show different species.
One of those species being the tiger reticulated python, one of the longest snakes in the world that can grow over 20 feet long in the wild.
The expo is a first for the area, but a success for breeders and critters alike.
It's awesome. It's a good feeling for me seeing all the smiling faces and everybody being happy to see something new in the 4 states. I really enjoy being able to bring something like this to folks that might not have the ability to travel 2 or 3 or 4 hours to go to the closest Reptile Expo.
In Newton County, Mitch Adams, KOAM News.
The expo continued through Sunday at the Newton County Fairgrounds. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Mauna Loa is recalling its dark chocolate covered macadamias due to undeclared nuts. And we have a warm and mostly cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look from the Barco Drive-In located in Lamar, Missouri. In Consumer Watch this morning, as President Trump marks 100 days in office this week, new CBS News polls show that a majority of Americans still aren't sold on his tariff policies. 69% of those surveyed said Trump isn't focused enough on lowering prices, while 62% said he's too focused on tariffs. Now, support for placing new tariffs on foreign goods has dipped 11% since Trump won the election back in November. 48% say the president's financial policies are making them worse off, while 33% say they see no difference, and only 19% say the policies are making them better off. Well, Mauna Loa is recalling packages of its dark chocolate-covered macadamias because they may contain undeclared almonds and cashews. According to a post by the Food and Drug Administration, the products could cause a life-threatening reaction for people with nut allergies. The recalled products were distributed in 16 states. Consumers are urged to return the recalled packages to their place of purchase for a refund. And Ryan Coogler's Sinners dominated the box office for the second weekend in a row, with around $45 million projected domestically. 20-year-old Star Wars prequel Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, re-released to mark its anniversary, slashed its way to the #2 spot with $25 million. And The Accountant 2, starring Ben Affleck, was third with just over $24 million. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're going to start with a look outside downtown Pittsburgh. Kind of hazy out there, and we do have some patchy fog in some of our northern counties, but thankfully nothing too crazy out there. Some dense fog off to our east, though. We've got mostly clear skies, but clouds begin to increase as we continue through the morning hours. MoDOT camera 20th and range line. It's looking back to the northwest, so you can see kind of that cloud line and as it progressively nears our area. Heading into the afternoon, we are going to be mostly cloudy to straight up cloudy. We will be dry, we will be warm, we will be breezy, with temperatures soaring to right about 80 degrees out there. And those south winds gusting upwards of 35. Now, after tonight, after midnight, and really close to about 2 a.m., that's when this kicks in. Again, this is day one. If people are just sharing this without knowing exactly what they're looking at, day one, it makes it look like this is something today, like into the afternoon. It is not. This risk is from 2 a.m. forward as we go overnight tonight. So there's a low to elevated tornado risk. We have a low to elevated hail risk with these hash marks out here in parts of southeast Kansas and Oklahoma, indicating the possibility of very large hail, 2 inches in diameter or greater, and a low to elevated wind risk as well. So we have our low to elevated risk today, really northwest of the I-44 corridor. Then tomorrow, that threat shifts south of the I-44 corridor with strong storms possible north of that. And we could even get a couple of strong storms in our far southern counties lingering into early Wednesday morning as well. 66 in Joplin right now, 65 in Pittsburgh. Again, quite warm out there. South winds off to the west, bringing in warmer air, off to the east, gradually bringing in that warmer air. So Monette, Castle, you've been in the low 60s most of the morning, but just about everybody else mid to upper 60s, and still a pair of 70s, Chanute and Yates Center. We're ultimately looking again at highs near 80, mostly cloudy skies, and as I mentioned, those winds gusting upwards of 35 miles an hour. We're having another full look at your forecast, break down what we know about these storms and the timing so far, as well as, of course, birthdays and anniversaries. But first, here's what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, it's Beg Knows America, and David shows us how an 11-year-old's request to interview the President of the United States changed multiple lives. Plus, actor and comedian Ed Helms joins us to talk about his new book on history's biggest blunders. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Monday birthdays. So now, last week, those of you that tuned in may have noticed that we just got one list ahead of ourselves, and our birthdays for this week ran there instead of the Friday birthdays. So we're going to do an even bigger celebration. So these birthdays, very happy belated birthdays out there. This is our list from Friday. And again, we apologize. It did not run the way it was supposed to, but we're going to get to it. All right, starting with Kinley Randall in Pittsburgh, celebrating birthday number 1.
And in Joplin, a happy 3rd birthday to Gabriel Rains. It says, "We love you so much. Love you, Mom, Dad, Big Sis, and the rest of the family."
And our neighbor in Crestline, Anaya Palmer, celebrating birthday number 8.
And a happy 8th birthday as well to Graylin Welch in St. Paul.
And in Columbus, Ava Allison celebrating birthday number 16. Happy birthday.
And a happy 17th birthday to Chloe Willette in Nevada.
And in Baxter's, Chesney Billings celebrating birthday number 18. Happy birthday.
And a happy 25th birthday to Caitlin Young in Parsons.
Also in Parsons, Amanda Hale celebrating birthday number 34. Says, happy birthday. We love you, Mom and Dad.
And happy birthday to Joe Meadows celebrating birthday number 43 in Liberal. It says, we love you from Mom, Dad, and me, Mom.
And in Oswego, Jamie Wilkinson celebrating birthday number 56. Happy birthday.
And back over in Parsons, a happy birthday to Sherry Burke, who's pictured here in the middle, turning 77 today. It says, happy birthday. Love your sisters, Judy and Debbie.
And Ron Reynolds in Columbus celebrating another year wiser.
And also in Columbus, a happy birthday to Chanel Bullard. It says, happy birthday from John and Kennedy.
And we've got David Martin also celebrating. So again, that's our list for Friday. we're human. We make mistakes, but we want to make sure we correct it. So a very happy belated birthday to everyone on that list. Now we move into today's birthdays, which again ran on Friday, but we want to make sure we celebrate them on the right day. And we're starting with Olivia Wimber in Galena, celebrating birthday number 8.
And in Crestline, a happy 14th birthday to Riley Moore.
And we've got Kennedy Bullard celebrating birthday number 20 in Columbus. Says happy birthday from Mom and Dad.
And happy 49th birthday to Daniel Blackford in Lamar.
And our neighbor in Crestline, Sue Drennan, celebrating birthday number 78, says happy birthday from the Crestline girls.
And happy birthday to Jim Campbell in Columbus. It says happy birthday to the best husband a gal can ask for. Love you.
And our list continues with Brianna Ferguson celebrating another year wiser.
And last but not least, a happy birthday to Bianca Kohler.
All right, so now we've got that all squared away. You do know what this means, though, for those of you celebrating. It means you get to celebrate twice.
Yes.
Because we're doing it twice, so you might as well celebrate twice. And, of course, if you would like to celebrate with us, preferably once, but if you don't need be to celebrate twice, Elise has information for you.
Yes, go ahead and submit your birthdays and those anniversaries to birthdays@komnewsnow.com. Be sure to meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen and to also include the date of your celebration when submitting as well.
Certainly so. And, again, we apologize for that mistake. Like I said, we're humans. We're not robots. We're not machines, we're not computers, and so we do make mistakes on occasion, but we will fix them just like we did if we make those kinds of mistakes. All right, let's talk about severe weather. Now, again, you see anything like this, because I'm telling you, I see a lot of weather people on Facebook that aren't necessarily weather people. They're going to be sharing our severe weather outlook for today, for day 1. But if you don't know exactly what you're looking at, it makes it appear as though we're looking at some nasty weather this afternoon. We are not. I want to emphasize that because day 1 from the Storm Prediction Center rolls into the next day, into the early morning hours. That's when this is for. After 2 o'clock in the morning, that's when this severe risk starts to kick in. So we do have, again, that low to elevated tornado threat with the elevated risk almost all of southeast Kansas, does stretch into Missouri and Oklahoma, so we're talking back down into to Newada County, Washington County, and that does include Vernon and Bates County as well. On the Missouri side, we have a low to elevated hail and wind risk, but the hail risk, the other concern, again, northwestern Bourbon County, so follow that line. We're going to include Chanute, possibly just northwest of Parsons, Independence, Coffeyville, Fredonia, Yates Center, Eureka, Sedan, Howard. You kind of get the idea there. That's where we have those hatch marks where it indicates the possibility of very large hail, 2 inches in diameter or greater. And again, this is going to be overnight tonight. So we'll be here tomorrow morning covering these storms. Now through today, cloudy or mostly cloudy skies, warm and windy. South winds gusting upwards of 35. So the most today that we're going to get is probably that feeling, when you go outside and there's change in the air. You can kind of feel the energy for thunderstorms as we head into the evening. That's what we're going to notice today. About 10, 11 o'clock, an isolated shower storm still showing up on future track. Might try and sneak its way into southeast Kansas. At that point, not expected to be much, but could get a couple of rumbles of thunder out of that. As I mentioned, it's 2 a.m. Starting into northeastern Oklahoma, back again into Newada and Washington counties. We start to see those thunderstorms roll in. That thunderstorm complex grows, intensifies as it pushes now into Labette, Cherokee, parts of Crawford, Craig, Ottawa, Jasper, Newton counties. And that's when we start to see that severe threat pick up. You also see thunderstorms northwest of Yates Center to the north of Burlington, Kansas as well. And some of those could be strong to severe. And that's what we're going to look at. By 5, some of these storms may be just on the strong side, but it's only for a moment before another line of storms develops across southeast Kansas, starts pushing southeast. By 7 a.m., Nevada, Lamar, Joplin, Galena, Riverton, Baxter Springs, Columbus, Miami, and then stretching back toward Newada and toward Bartlesville. We'll see opportunities for more strong to severe thunderstorms, and that will continue. Now, our severe risk, the greater severe risk, with this cold front coming in, will push along and south of I-44 as we head to the late morning, afternoon, and evening hours on Tuesday, but we could still see a strong storm or two north of that point. So you're not necessarily out of the woods north of I-44, but the severe risk is a bit lower, and that continues. We'll have scattered showers, thunderstorms throughout the day on Tuesday, and again, some of those could be strong, potentially severe. It could last overnight and into very early Wednesday before they do begin to wind down a bit. So tomorrow, here's what we're looking at. There is a low tornado threat just barely getting into our far southern counties. We want to watch it. We have a low hail risk tomorrow along and south of I-44. Tomorrow's severe threat looks mainly to be wind, so south of I-44, an elevated risk for damaging wind gusts that could be upwards of 60, 70 miles an hour. We're going to have one more look at your forecast and, of course, the news you need to know here in a moment. And when we switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., or if you stay right here with us on KOAM Plus, we're going to tell you about a Virginia woman and a horse show, how a Virginia woman and a horse, rather, show us just how special a bond can be.
And here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Oklahoma Highway Patrol was alerted to a rollover crash early Sunday morning. A semi carrying 40,000 pounds of strawberries crashed near the McDonald's above I-44. All lanes of traffic were closed as the semi ran into the median, pushing it into the eastbound lanes. The driver was not injured, and Oklahoma State Patrol reports say the driver fell asleep and crashed into the center barrier. Well, Pitt State Honors students helped kids get away from screen time and engaged with valuable life skills. Students planned a day of activities focused on enhancing problem solving, teamwork, and imaginative thinking. Associate Professor Philip Frank says the students have gone above the requirements for the course to make Saturday's activities what they were. Well, student athletes from Carl Junction brought home some new hardware and a new title. Archers from Carl Junction traveled to Utah to compete in the Western National Championship. The students earned the top spot in 3D archery and second place in bullseye, giving them the national title. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, again, mild. We'll have mostly cloudy to cloudy skies this afternoon. Highs about 80, south winds gusting to 35. Still mostly cloudy through the evening, and then after 2 a.m., thunderstorm chances increase. Some of those could be strong to severe with all hazards possible. We'll have non-thunderstorm winds out of the south gusting to 30. We'll have scattered storms throughout the day Tuesday. Our severe threat shifts along and south of I-44 by late Tuesday morning into the afternoon and evening. Strong storm or two possible Wednesday morning, then just scattered storms after that through Thursday morning. So flooding is another concern. And then we'll dry out and warm up into the weekend, back into the low 80s.
All right, and coming up today at noon, we're making berry ugly pie in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Coming up, how President Trump is remaking the Justice Department and taking on judges in ways that are raising concerns.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we'll see how one local business adds a unique spin on an Easter egg hunt.
Plus, Lori Horton back in the studio to finish up making that amazing banana cake. However, that's going to wrap it up for us for now. Again, if we have any severe weather ongoing tomorrow morning, we'll be right here tracking that. Otherwise, we'll see you again at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.